Alright, so I'm about a year late on making this video because I was supposed to have this out last September when I had binge watched all 3 Maze Runner films in one day on September 10th, 2024. I wanted to have this video out on its 10-year anniversary, but I missed my window there. But thankfully, today is the 10-year anniversary for the Scorch trial, so I'm taking my opportunity right now to make this video. And then after that, I gotta get back to making my Galactus costume, which is taking longer than it should. But hello everyone, welcome back to another trilogy review on the channel. So as I mentioned earlier, yes, I wanted to have this video out on its 10-year anniversary for the Maze Runner that was out 10 years ago. As of last year, now it's 11 years old. Well, I think it will be 11 years old come by tomorrow. But it's crazy to think that Scorch Trials had came out 10 years ago today. Jesus criminy, every single movie I've seen during my slight childhood, I feel like my childhood would have ended around 2012, but I guess it would have ended by the time I turned 18, but still, it's just crazy to see all these movies I've seen as a kid are now turning 10 years old. But yeah, since I missed my chance to post my trilogy review last year, I'm taking the chance right now to post it today on the Scorch Trials 10-year anniversary. And I have taken notes on Letterboxd on my thoughts with each movie, so yeah, let's just cut the chit-chat and discuss my thoughts on the Maze Runner trilogy. Alright, to give you a background of where I'm at with Maze Runner, so this is one of those movies that isn't my cup of tea, plus by the time this was coming out, the only thing I was interested in were superhero movies, as I would have been 8 years old by the time this was released. Although there's a good chance I may have saw the first one around early 2015, or in between the last month of 2014 and the first month of 2015. Because the first time I had watched this movie, I ended up watching it with my mom in the living room, and it caught my attention. The movie looked intriguing. Specifically, what caught my attention into watching this with her was, okay, how are these guys trapped in a maze? What's going on? Now you have my attention. I'm curious to know what's the big mystery about. I dug the cast, but I think what carries these movies for me is the lead actor, Dylan O'Brien. He's a likable character that you can root for, but off topic real quickly, I could see the vision of Dylan O'Brien as Nightwing. So, James Gunn, if you're looking for an actor to play Nightwing, I would not mind if you cast Dylan O'Brien as Nightwing, since by the time we're supposed to have Brave and the Bold in the DCU, the Bat family is supposed to be already assembled. And also, speaking about the whole Robert Pattinson and David Cornsweet Batman-Superman merge, yeah, that's dead now, because Matt Reeves came out confirming that, oh no, Batman Part 2 is an Elseworld project. So it's a bummer we won't see these two share the screen together, but hate to say it may have been for the best, because if you were to bring in Robert Pattinson's Batman into the DCU, it would have complicated things, because by the time we get to DCU Batman, we're supposed to already be introduced to the Bat family. Okay, I'm getting off topic, talking about DC. Back to the video. But yeah, James Gunn, I hope you cast Dylan O'Brien as Nightwing. But yeah, first time watching this, I actually found some enjoyment with it, even though this was slightly scary for me at the time, since I was 8 years old, first time watching this. And that's mainly thanks to the Grievers, who are pretty terrifying on screen. But yeah, I enjoyed the suspense for this movie, along with the action sequences where we see the characters running through the maze or fighting the Grievers. But I think what's leaving me a little scarred about these Maze Runner films is that these are adults playing teenagers, and I'm not too big on seeing kids die on screen, so I guess it's somewhat left an impact on me. In other words, I just feel bad for these kids dying left and right. But the standouts definitely are going to go to Newt and Mino, if I pronounce their names correctly. Even Golly, who technically was a bit of a dick in this movie, but for characters I felt bad that got killed off would have been Albie, and most of all, Chuck. I am never going to forgive this movie for killing off Chuck. I was so heartbroken when he was killed off on screen. So I would give The Maze Runner a 9 out of 10, but for them killing off Chuck, it's an 8.5 out of 10 for me, although I'm kind of back and forth. And it's mainly due to, one, I'm not a fan of seeing kids die on screen, but most of all, Chuck. I'm sorry, I'm still pissed off that he was killed off at the end of this movie. And having to rewatch that 10 years as... Actually, how many times have I seen this movie? I can't recall how many times I've seen this movie, but if that was my first time... Actually, no, I think I may have seen this 3 times. I don't know, but still, don't matter. Having to rewatch that scene 10 years later, it still pisses me off, as it's just straight up heartbreaking for me. So even though I may be back and forth on the rating, it's an 8.5 out of 10 for me, just for them killing off Chuck. But this movie really piqued my interest with its crazy cliffhanger, because holy shit. I couldn't believe it just ended like that, and after watching it, yeah, I was wanting another movie, even though I wasn't sure at the time that we were getting a sequel. But I could see why folks were complaining about this movie's cliffhanger, but I didn't mind. I was just shocked to see how the world was suddenly in ruins, and yeah, I wanted some answers to what the hell was going on, since this first movie had me hooked. Well, thank God we got a sequel a year later, as I remember when a TRILOGY came out, I was like, oh, stop! This is the sequel to The Maze Runner! So thank God we got a sequel, because that last movie left us hanging, but damn! I'm actually shocked we ended up getting a sequel a year later. But I was happy we had gotten a continuation of The Maze Runner, since I was very intrigued and fascinated with this world, and at the time, I was not aware that this was based off of a book series. Now, the first time I saw this movie was on an airplane as I was flying out with my brother to go visit our dad for the holidays, which that would have been around December 2015. Oh, damn. But I remember feeling kind of mixed with this, but having to rewatch it last year, I don't know what ended up changing my mind, because I ended up enjoying the absolute shit out of it. But I was not happy with how this movie ended. Now, this cliffhanger I will actually complain about than the last movie's cliffhanger. Oh yeah, like I mentioned earlier, the first time I was watching this was on an airplane where there was one of those tablet things that you could watch movies or TV shows. And Scorch Trials was on there, so I hit play on that while I think my brother was taking a nap next to me. Well, to be honest, I don't really remember what my brother was doing. I just know that we both were out flying to visit our dad for the holidays. But yeah, this movie was a thrill ride from start to finish, but I did not sign up for zombie content with this movie! In case if I've not said this already on the channel, I do not do well with zombie content. Actually, the last time I said something about this was when I did a trailer reaction for Marvel Zombies. But still, I do not like zombie content. I may be into horror movies, but zombies, that's where I draw the line. I cannot handle watching a zombie movie because I fear of it actually happening. I know my mom tells me it's not real. It's only a matter of time, which I should not even be saying that, because I'm at this point jinxing it. And I hate to say it, I'd rather experience any other apocalypse, whether it's Alien or Terminator. And both of those are worse. Just anything but a zombie apocalypse. Also, this movie was giving off heavy vibes of The Last of Us. But yeah, basically the sun got too hot, which ended up scorching the planet, and somehow, I guess, created a zombie virus called the Flare, creating cranks, the zombies in this world. I thought the Grievers were scary enough, but I was wrong, because we end up having to deal with zombies in this movie. And I don't do well with zombie shit, both in movie and TV form. But yeah, the trailer had me hooked with this movie as I was highly anticipating to see this. And as I mentioned, Dylan O'Brien carries these movies for me as a likable character to root for. And the standouts for Scorch Trials have to go to Giancarlo Esposito character, along with Brenda, who, kind of down bad for, probably because she played Aelita in Battle Angel, but I probably had a slight crush on her back in 2015. But while there were some good suspenseful moments in this movie and cool action, there was a slight weird change for the tone of this movie as we start off trying to survive what I could say a zombie apocalypse, but really it's just a apocalyptic world to a certain scene that involves two characters partying and then a regular action scene at the very end that kind of has me forgot what this movie was about, I guess. I don't know, basically there's a weird tone change around between the second and third act of the movie, but damn, I wish the first film was around the runtime for this movie, because the last film was kind of short, being almost 2 hours, an hour and 53 minutes, while Scorch Trials is at a runtime of 2 hours and 11 minutes. But the longest film in this trilogy is the next one, being 2 hours and 22 minutes. But I'll never forget how pissed I was with how this movie had ended with yet another cliffhanger. Most importantly, I'll never forget how pissed I was when Teresa betrayed the freaking group. Like, what the hell? You learn about Wicked as they're the villains for these movies, Evil Company Corporation, in the last film, but you definitely hate them in this one as they try to capture immune kids to work out a cure for the flare. Now, technically, that should be a good thing, that they're trying to make a cure to save the human race before the flare wipes them out completely. But unfortunately, it's in a very twisted way. Because they torture these kids by putting them in mazes and have them go through serious situations that would get them all killed just to see if any of them are immune or not, since they're so desperate for a freaking cure. Anyways, back to topic. This movie basically had an Empire Strikes Back ending type bullshit when they captured Mino, and I was not only pissed that he was captured along with a couple of other characters, but I was also pissed about Teresa betraying them, and this movie ending with another cliffhanger. Depending when I saw the first movie, I had to wait a whole year just to see part 2, and I was not sure if we'd be getting a third movie. Thankfully, we did. It just took longer than a year, because The Death Cure was released around 2018 when I thought it came out in 2019. But yeah, as I've said this before on the channel, I'm mostly an impatient person. Sure, I can be patient, but I'm not. So I was not happy I had to wait longer than a year just to see part 3 to this trilogy, because that cliffhanger really pissed me the hell off. Anyways, I'm between like an 8.5 or 9 out of 10 for this one. I overall enjoyed it. I could say this is a superior sequel, but if anything, I think the first movie is the best in the trilogy, as I thought the Scorch Trials was pretty solid overall. Now, apparently the Death Cure was supposed to come out in 2017, but had gotten delayed to 2018 due to an injury that Dylan O'Brien had caught while trying to film a stunt. But was the wait worth it for me on seeing part 3? Maybe. I don't know, to be honest. I've only had seen this movie once. Well, make that twice as of last year. I remember not being a fan of this first time watching it, and the trailers weren't doing it for me, except for the final trailer that I thought was better. But having to watch it for a second viewing, as it had been 6 years since I had last revisited this movie, I found some enjoyment out of it. I could say this is the weakest of the trilogy, but I overall enjoyed all 3 films in the trilogy. There's just one con I have with the third entry, and that is, I don't know how this happened, but somehow I got spoiled for this movie. Yeah, that's right. I saw spoilers on YouTube for Teresa's death. Are you kidding me right now? I figured I had to avoid spoilers for superhero films, but now I gotta do the same thing with other movies that are non-superhero related? Like, damn! So yeah, some certain spoilers ruined this movie, and probably the experience for me, but yeah, this was the final chapter, the epic conclusion to the Maze Runner trilogy. I've not read the books, but I do plan on reading them sometime, but for a movie titled The Death Cure, where, yes, the movie does revolve about finding a cure, but as a side plot, really. Because the main plot for this movie is literally Thomas and the rest of the gang trying to rescue Mino from Wicked. They should have honestly titled this movie The Maze Runner Finding Mino. See what I did there? I'm not gonna lie, I'm not so sure if I came up with that joke or if I got that from someone else. But back to topic. They do talk about finding a cure in this movie because unfortunately the virus has now become airborne, so humanity's kinda screwed. But I'm still trying to figure out how the hell was Gully alive, because I was shocked to see him in the movie, and I was probably spoiled about him being alive, but apparently he managed to survive getting a spear in his chest from Mino, and he is also immune to the flare virus. But I do like him in this movie, so I guess he was a bit of a standout. Other standout characters will go to Newt and Brenda. Speaking about Newt, this is probably another spoiler that ruined the movie for me. Similar to how I feel about the first one, where I was pissed off about them killing off Chuck. Yeah, same situation here, except it's with Newt, because he gets infected by the cranks, and I'm not gonna forgive this movie for not only having him get infected, but killing him at the very end. I'm probably more devastated about Newt dying in this movie than Chuck, but that honestly doesn't matter, because I'm upset about both of those characters dying in this trilogy. Wait a second, I don't know why I still like Gully, because he's responsible for killing Chuck in the first place. Now, I don't know if I got any negatives for these movies, or more specifically this one. I could say that it did need to be 2 hours and 22 minutes, maybe a little shorter, but I don't know. I'm back and forth about it. It was hard for me to like Teresa in this movie, knowing what she did in the last film that got me to hate her guts a bit, but I did start to like her again later in this movie. But speaking about Teresa, so the main spoiler that ruined this movie for me was Teresa's death, as I saw it pop up on my YouTube page, and I was very pissed about it. But also, how the hell did I not end up seeing this movie in theaters? Like, what the hell was I doing around the time this was coming out? Anyways, I've said this before already, Dylan O'Brien carries the Maze Runner trilogy, playing a likable character to root for, and this movie is entertaining overall. I was shocked about how Ava was killed off, as she was technically a bad guy, but she was trying to find a cure to save humanity, and slightly did have a soft spot for Thomas until Jensen killed her off. That threw me off guard. But what's a big shocker for me is that later in the movie, it's revealed that Thomas's blood is not only fighting off the flare virus, but also destroying it. Because in the last movie, Brenda was infected until a character named Mary used Thomas's blood to cure her. And yeah, his blood did the trick, as it ended up curing Brenda. It's seriously crazy that his blood is the freaking cure to the flare, as he could literally put an end to this virus and save humanity. But anyways, I don't know what other thoughts I could say about the Death Cure. I was sadly spoiled for this movie. I was upset about Newt dying. And it was overall entertaining. I had a fun ride with this trilogy, and I'm gonna miss it. Even though Disney is trying to make more Maze Runner films, from what I'm now hearing, and I know they won't bring back the main cast if they do make a 4th entry, but I won't lie, I'm kind of down for more Maze Runner films. So if we do end up getting a 4th entry, I will be there day one. Officially in theaters, since I have not seen this entire trilogy in theaters, sadly. So my rating for The Death Cure is between an 8.5 or an 8 out of 10, but my rating for this trilogy as a whole is an 8.5 out of 10. And holy shit, I really just binge watched an entire trilogy in one day. Well, as of last year, which was 8 days ago. But I'm glad I did, because I overall enjoyed these movies, so thank you, Wes Bell. Look forward to you directing Planet of the Apes 5 and 6 as I enjoy your work for Kingdom. And with that being said, that's my thoughts on the Maze Runner trilogy. If you have seen these movies, be sure to leave me your thoughts, comments down below. Which one is your favorite? Because I could say the second one, but I think I'm going with the first one, since I do think that is the best in the trilogy. I definitely should start reading these books, but I would also like to get the physical media of the Maze Runner trilogy. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy this trilogy review, and as always, I'll see you on the next video. Peace out.